Hi, welcome to the Augmented 7th. Today we're going to talk about how to alternate pick, the technique of alternate picking, and we'll break this into two parts because there's some basic exercises that one should look at when trying to learn it, which become more complex as we proceed. So as I say, we'll break it into two sections, and in this first section I'll just introduce the idea of alternate picking, what it means for both hands, and the exercises that we can use to build up our chops with alternate picking. Okay, so when we talk about alternate picking, we always do so in the strict sense, and what that means is no matter how many notes are played on each string, the movement of the pick is always down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so if I start on the 6th string and I play 3 notes, then I pick down, up, down. Now, if I move to the 5th string and play another 3 notes, I don't play down, up, down, I play up, down, up. In other words, it's a continuous motion of down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, as opposed to down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Okay, so it makes sense then that if you want to play 3 note per string patterns or something along those lines, that this can be quite tricky and quite a technique to master. So it makes sense that if we're playing an even number of notes, say 2 or 4 for example, that it's easier to handle. It also makes sense because of the difficulty in crossing the strings and going from say down to up down up, that it's easier to look at it in terms of one string. Okay, so I would like to talk about the technique of both hands. Now, the easiest way to start is to not fret any notes whatsoever and just to get the movement right. Okay, so if we take the top E string, you can see that my picking hand is rested on the guitar and I'm not fretting any notes, and I'm just going to down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, pick that string. Now, the movement in your picking hand should always be completely in the wrist and not the arm, and what this involves is probably anchoring your other fingers that you're not picking with on the body of the guitar and just using a wrist motion. So just watch closely as I just pick this open string. Okay, so that's the basic mechanism of alternate picking on one string, and we look to introduce fingers. Now, the most important thing to realise with alternate picking is it's not how fast you go, but whether you have a steady beat so that you've got a constant tempo. You can use a metronome if you like and set it to whatever tempo suits you best, but it's better to be slower and at a constant tempo than to play faster in bursts, if that makes sense. Okay, so we can pick, and we can look to introduce fingers. Now, these are also considered exercises which are great for warm-ups, but they're also good for building your alternate picking chops. Okay, so if we just take our first 2 fingers and we fret the first and then play a downstroke, and then fret the second and play an upstroke. Then move up to the next fret, the 2nd fret, pick down for the first finger and up for the second. And so what we have there is an exercise where we're going down, up, down, up, down, up, and ascending every 2 notes. Okay, so that would be. And you can go up as far as you like and then descend. Okay, so that gets us back to the start. Now, as I said, some of these are not only exercises in alternate picking, but they're actually good for warm-ups and building strength and dexterity and coordination. So we can do many exercises before we even think about actual scales, and so we can think of any combination of 2 fingers that we can come up with. Okay, so we could start with the 1st and the 3rd. Okay, so we fret the 1st, downstroke, then the 3rd, upstroke, move up a fret, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. and we keep going that way, and then once again descend. Then we can do the same with the first and fourth fingers. So down on the first fret, up on the fourth, then move to the second, down on the second fret, up on the fifth. And for all these exercises you should ascend as far as you want to go and then descend. Okay, so that's why it's useful to look at 2 note per string or 2 note at a time patterns, because what that means is that the down up motion is restricted to the movement, so we can work the fingers in and keep that rhythm going with the picking hand. Okay, so to build up strength and dexterity and coordination, we can also look at the second and third fingers. And the second and fourth fingers. And then finally the third and fourth fingers. Yet again, we're just restricting the movement to one string at this stage and staying away from the idea of scales. Now other exercises that we can do is down up on the first 2 fingers, then slide up a fret to the third with the second finger, pluck it, and then up on the second fret. So you got down, up, slide, down, up, slide, down, up. And so on, and you can do that with all of the different 2 finger combinations that we have so far. Okay, now we can do 4 fingers at a time, and obviously there's a restriction on how many patterns we can play, so we'll just do the simplest one, and that's 1 finger for each fret. Okay, so that's down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and so on. So if we just play a simple pattern that's an extension of 2 fingers per position, then we get down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and so on. And we can continue in this matter, so we get something like and we can then descend as well. Now, before looking at more complicated movements and position shifts and things like that, we can start to work in